Hello everyone and welcome back to Crafts by the Bow. Today I'm continuing making my Christmas cards, and last week I was using this beautiful Santa's Workshop paper with the little lots of little Santas and elves and snowmen, and it's got the little like velvet paper on, the little flocking on some of the sides, and I am just in love with it. And so today I thought I'd use some more. And I'm going to make a different kind of a card today. It's not a fancy fold, it's just cut a little bit differently. And I'm going to be using the Timeless Tidings set just for this one sentiment of Merry Christmas. And this comes really with the card kit where you make 20 Christmas cards, but I like the font for that, and I think it'll work really well on my card today. So I've started off with a piece of Whisper White with a little mark on there from a paper cut that I got earlier. And my card was just a normal 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4.25. And this little mark doesn't matter because I'm going to cover it over with paper. You then need a second piece of card, and I've chosen the basic black, and it is just 4 by 5.25, and I'm using it as my first layer. And this will cover up that little paper cut that I had. There we are. I'm just going to get my bone folder as well, because when I've cut the white here, I've got just a little edge on it. I think I'm starting to need a new blade again in my trimmer. And then I've chosen some of the paper, and I chose this red and white spotty paper. So what I'm going to do is to use this for my top layer. And because it doesn't show up particularly well on the black, I'm going to put another piece of white over the top. And again, it's just 1/4 inch smaller all the way around. So this is 5 by 3.75. And usually, if I use white for the base of a card, I will use the thick Whisper White. But because I've got so many layers of card going onto this card, I just used the ordinary Whisper White. Okay. And then my DSP, I've chosen the back of the little elf paper, and I've cut it at 5 by 2.25. And then I'm just going to use my trimmer to make the shape that I need. And what I've done is I've made a little mark halfway along the paper. So at 2.5 inches, I'll just check that you can see that. At 2.5 inches, I've lined it up as though it's in the paper in the paper trimmer, just level with the 5-inch mark. And at 2.5 with my pen on the back, I've just made a little mark. And then what I've done on these two short edges is I've lined it up and made a 1-inch mark. Let me do it this way instead. So at 1 inch, just make a little mark, and at the bottom again 1 inch. So on our piece on the back, we've got a mark at 1 inch from the bottom up, 1 inch from the bottom up, and 2.5 in the middle. And I'm going to use those marks to make the shape that I need for the front of my card. So I'm going to line up one of the 1-inch marks in the track here, and where we've got the 2.5-inch mark in the middle, I'm going to line that up in the track. And then I'm just going to cut it across. And then the same again. But this time I'm just going to line up the 2.5-inch and the 1 inch in the track and cut across. So you're going to get that kind of a chevron shape. It doesn't matter if it's not exact, because we're actually going to cover this with something, but I like the angles to be just about right. And then what I've done next is taken a piece of the black card at the same size, so it was 5 by 2 1/4, and I've done exactly the same. I made a mark at 2 1/2 and at 1 inch up from each edge, popped it in the trimmer and cut the shape. Now, we don't actually need this as wide as this, so I'm just going to chop a little bit off. But if you don't make it the same size, your angles won't be quite right. So don't give yourself an extra job and be trying to make your angles and your sizings right. Just make it the same size and trim a little bit off. It's much easier. Okay, and then this black piece is going to go underneath our red piece, and I just want like a little chevron showing, just like that. You can choose how much exactly you want, if you just want like the 1/4 of an inch, or if you want a bit more. I'm just going to put glue on the chevron part and then line it up. Oops. Let's have it the same at both sides though. Maybe if I line it up on that's better, on the grid paper, then I can see. There we go. Oh, fell off. Okay, so you've just got the little chevron of black underneath showing, and then we can glue this onto our card. And you don't need to have a border. Let me just check it's opening the right way. Yeah, you don't need to have a border at the top. We're going to sort of butt it right up to the edge. There we go. Okay. Now next I chose one of the elves from this piece of paper that has the candy canes on the back and the little elves and Santa. And what I did was I took my 1 3/4 inch punch. You can use scallop circles and things if you would like, or your stitched circles. Here we go. And I just chose which elf I wanted. I wanted the one here. Let's say I was choosing this one, and just cut it out with your punch. Okay, so I've got the little green elf already punched out. I did first do one of the snowmen, and I had one of the snowmen done with the stitched circle as well, but that was just a little bit bigger than I needed. It's a little bit bigger than 1 3/4. Okay, and then I'm just going to put my sentiment on the bottom of the card, and I've got my garden green ink. Let's take that one out. That says Merry Christmas. And just pop it onto one of my blocks. I'll just line it up on here. Just line it up on my grid paper. It's much easier if you do it on the Stamparatus, of course, but I'm just check that that looks about straight. Yeah, I might just try it on a piece of paper first. Let's have this. Oh yeah, that's nice. And I'm going to put mine at the side. I'm going to put it at the left-hand side here. You could put it at the right-hand side. You could put it in the middle, wherever you want. And I'm making sure that it goes fairly flat down near the bottom. There we go. Pop that on one side because we won't need that again yet. Pop the green away. Got lots of little pieces of fluff on there. Not sure where from. Okay. And then after I did that, I got out my Starburst punch and my 2-inch punch. But depending on what size you cut your little picture, you know, just go up sort of 1/4 of an inch at a time with your either your punches or the rest of your circles. And then I'm not quite sure which colours I wanted to use. I knew I wanted the garden green for the back to go on here, but I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to go on top. So with my 2-inch circle punch, I just cut out a few circles just to have them layering. So I can either have it like that. Let's see what it's like on the red. No, I don't like that red as much because it isn't the real red of this colour. So I think I like the black better. So I'm just going to adhere these together. Pop that onto the garden green. Oops. Just move that around a little bit. It's not quite in the middle. Cut another one of those, I think. I'll find my green card again. Use my Starburst punch. There we go. Pop a little bit more glue on there. It wasn't quite in the centre. I didn't like it so much. There we go. And then I'm going to put the little elf on. It would be quite nice with one of those little wobble springs that I used on my last cards as well. That would be fun. And then I'm going to pop him on here, but just so that he goes over that little point. And if you wanted to put it up here, you could, but I like it so that the chevron goes underneath these circles. So I'm just going to pop some more tape on the back. Check that I've got him in the middle. There you are. A different kind of a layered look for the front. You could stamp it inside as well. You could use some of the paper, like this red paper here. You could put just a little bit across the bottom if you wanted. You could do another little layer inside and put a little strip of these elves. But let's do that. Let's find my trimmer again. And I think these are 1 inch wide, but I'm going to use this little piece here. So I'm going to cut just underneath the line. So there we go. And then I want one with more of the elves on, like that. Yeah. That's it. And then it's not quite wide enough for here, just because of the way I've cut it. So I think what I might do is put a backing on, and I'm going to choose the green. So I know that that will be 5 1/4 by 4. So I'm just going to cut it at 4, and then at 5 1/4. And if you want, that's for if you want it to go on the whole of the card like this. Let's see. That would give me a little border as well. And you could write on the green card, or if you wanted, you could put another white piece on the top. You just, that won't be long enough. Let me just find a scrap of white. Oh, that one's too small. I know it's not wide enough. And find my trimmer again. So now it's going to be 5 by 3 3/4. Let's see what that's like. If we pop that there, and it would go on there. And the little elves across the bottom. Oh, that's pretty cute, isn't it? Let's stick that in. So put the green one in first. But you certainly don't have to add anything to the inside if you don't want to. You could just use your stamps and stamp another sentiment in there. Or just leave a space for writing. Let's pop these little guys in as well. If you don't want to have a picture in there, you could use this spotty side again and put that down. But I think I'd like these little guys in. Right. I'm going to cut another one just because I don't like that I've cut the bow off and chosen that one to stick in. So you can see why I normally have everything already, can't you? So let's see. Just move that up a little bit so I don't catch their feet. There we are. I haven't cut the bow off this time. There we go. A little bit there. Just line it up on there. Yeah, that makes a nice little inside too. So I hope you liked that card, and I hope you'll give this little different layering a go. It's really easy. I have seen some people just use strips on this chevron and put underneath like this, and then another one that way and cut them. But because this goes over the front anyway, you can't really see it. You can only see the sides of it. But that's quite an economical way to make your chevron. But I quite like using this other method, and then I know that the angles are all the same. So thank you very much indeed for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye everyone.